I'm Natalie, your chairperson, and Kylie and Ricky will be timekeepers. The adjudicators are Mr. Chu, Ms. Leung, Ms. Tan, and Mr. Park. For the affirmative, the first speaker is Antonia. The second speaker is Michelle. And the third speaker is Sherry. For the negative, the first speaker is Alice. The second speaker is Gordon. And the third speaker is P. The rules of the debate are as follows. Each speaker will have a total of 4 minutes 15 seconds to speak. There will be one bell at 3:30, 2 bells at 4, and continuous ringing at 4:15 when speakers must finish. So let's start the debate today. I'll now call on the first speaker of the affirmative.
April 15, 2013, air pollution in Hong Kong reached dangerous high levels, 210 in Central on the Index, one of the worst levels since 1995, 6 times the amount recommended by the World Health Organization. Ladies and gentlemen, how can we possibly say Hong Kong is doing enough to solve our serious pollution problems? We strongly support the motion because we believe Hong Kong is failing to implement our sufficient measures to fix our serious pollution problems. We define Hong Kong as the government and society. Doing enough means making the right effort to solve problems. I will talk about 2 points. Hong Kong's failure to solve both air and water pollution. My second speaker is going to talk about light, weight, and noise pollution. Ladies and gentlemen, we're facing serious air pollution problems. According to South China Morning Post, April 9, 2013, the Hong Kong government will not reveal its new air target until next year, but the government has already unveiled a plan to meet them by 2020. So, it will actually take 7 years to make a real difference to roadside pollution problems. CYY says this is a core livelihood issue, but the policy and standard are not effective. Hong Kong does not operate according to WHO standard, unlike other cities in developed countries. But according to its own air quality objectives, these have not been updated since 1987. However, the WHO regularly updated its standard for the last time in 2006. Laws and treaties are not working. The engine idling ban has failed. In 2012, 1,204 vehicles were timed by the Environmental Protection Department, but only 7 prosecuted. This really shows that the government is really serious about emissions. Pollution is also caused by the rising number of vehicles on the Hong Kong roads, from 541,000 in 2005 to 653,000 in 2012. But there are no controls on the number of vehicles. Unlike in Singapore, where there is a cabin car registration test, or in London, where there is a congestion charge to reduce the number of vehicles. There are 1,600 minibuses on the road polluting our air because of their out-of-date engines. This is to fix too. The government is failing to fix our serious water pollution problems. Victoria Harbour is called Fragrant Harbour in Chinese, but actually it's toxic and dangerous. There was a plan in Hong Kong for an actor to jump into Victoria Harbour, but after testing the water, they even found TB germs, and the jump was cancelled. There's also serious water pollution problem in the Pearl River from Guangzhou, affecting water around Zhuri, Stanley, and Lama. The Hong Kong government has done little to negotiate with the mainland to try to solve this serious water pollution problem. Some facts for you from waterpollutiongroup.com. 25% of the sewage in Hong Kong is not treated before being released back into the ocean. 10% of Hong Kong beaches does not reach standard. 700 cubic meters of wasted sewage is dumped into Hong Kong water every year. The reclamation of land in Central needs 580,000 cubic meters of toxic waste to be dumped into Victoria Harbour. So, we're facing a terrible situation. Lack of policy, lack of action, pollution problem getting worse. So we strongly believe that Hong Kong is failing to implement sufficient measures to fix our serious pollution problem. So today's motion must stand. Thank you.
The speaker has used 4 minutes and 11 seconds.
I'll now call on the first speaker of the negative.
Good afternoon, Chairman, adjudicators, ladies and gentlemen. Throughout the whole 4 minutes of our opponent's opening speech, they have only criticized Hong Kong's pollution problem. They mentioned about how our air reached the dangerous high level and even the worst level. However, is this logical? We admit that Hong Kong's air quality is definitely not good. But does that mean Hong Kong is not doing enough? Can the results determine whether Hong Kong has done enough? Our opponents said that if the government is doing enough, then if the government is making right effort, then they are doing enough. Well, then I immediately came to think of myself. Should we use a student's result to determine whether a teacher has done enough? According to our opponent's logic, even if a teacher has made the right effort and devoted all that she can feasibly do to a student, well, eventually, if one of the students failed the examination, then the teachers are not doing enough. They are trying to tell us that none of the teachers in Hong Kong are doing enough. Now, we know how wrong and how mistaken their logic is. And our government is very aware of the air pollution problem. They have also made the right effort. Seeing the problem from vehicles, since 1999, we have adopted many different policies, such as replacing all diesel taxis and light buses with liquefied petroleum gas, adopted tighter fuel and vehicle emission, incentive the retrofit vehicles with particulate reduction devices, provided grants to replace old vehicles with newer ones that comply with higher standards, and reduce registration tax for environmentally friendly vehicles.
It is now 5:45.
This all shows that the government is making the right effort.
If your
The
teacher or
meaning
a
of
CCA
enough is
tutor
when
is not
all
with
that's
you,
feasible has
please
been
leave
done.
the campus now.
Going back to our
Thank
pollution
you.
problem, Hong Kong has done enough if there's no more that can be done easily. The intensity of the pollution in Hong Kong is not a factor in determining whether Hong Kong has done enough or not. Our team line is that Hong Kong has already done all that is feasible to alleviate the current pollution problem, and our opponents cannot suggest or propose some other feasible policy for the government to move on. I'll brief you on how the history on our environmental question has been, and my first speaker will continue to talk about how the current town planning has been integrated with the environment in mind, which is also a effort made by the government. Since 1999, as I mentioned, after we replaced all diesel taxis and light buses, respirable suspended particulates, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide has dropped by 33, 56 and 28% respectively. And though we have achieved some reductions, nitrogen dioxide has also risen by 23%. And our government knew about the problem, and to tackle the increase in nitrogen dioxide, we have retrofitted cars with catalytic reduction devices. In the 2013 budget, we have set aside 10 billion as subsidies to begin phasing out pre-Euro 4 commercial vehicles, which is a major source of nitrogen dioxide. And to further improve our air quality, the air quality objective from the World Health Organization will be implemented in 2014. Now, these are awesome government efforts that they made, despite Hong Kong being unable to control what is happening or can be done in the Pro-Delta region. We have communicated with the Guangdong province in implementing 14 key initiatives which adhere to higher standards and lower emissions. This is also some efforts that government made. For our opponents to prove today's motion, they cannot simply tell us how the air in Hong Kong does not reach the international standard. Instead, they must propose or suggest some other feasible policies. Without details on what the government can do more, there really is nothing we can debate on. Thank you.
The speaker has used 4 minutes and 8 seconds.
Sorry, apologies for that interruption. We've asked the office not to. There's one more at 6 o'clock. So I've told the chairperson of the speaking before 6, don't start. If you can't turn it off, don't start till that finish. We've asked them to do that.
Sorry.
also be called the Pearl of the Orient with waste piling up every day. We believe Hong Kong is failing to implement sufficient measures to fix our serious pollution. And I'll continue our Teamscape to talk about how light pollution, waste pollution, and noise pollution are problems not being solved by the Hong Kong government. But before I begin my case, I would like to show the issues of our opponents. First of all, they said that the Hong Kong government is doing enough to solve the problems. But the enough we're talking about is not about doing our best, but is to solve the problems. And as my first speaker has told you that, the air in Hong Kong is every breath you're sucking into your lungs and kill you. And you said we're criticizing, but we're not. We're just telling the facts that the Hong Kong government is not doing enough to solve the problems. And the plans for improving air in Hong Kong has been waiting for 7 years. So do you think that this is really the government doing enough to solve the problems? No. And the standards hasn't been updated since 1987. And then she also mentioned that there are 10% of beaches are not meeting standards. So how could you enjoy yourself while you're going to beach parties? No way. And the government is not doing enough to solve the problems. Therefore, the points are not valid. Take a look at our city, Central, Hong Kong. Do you know how badly your site is suffering? According to a CNN report on 21st of March in 2013, local urban night sky in Hong Kong is 1,000 times brighter than the international standards, making it the most light polluted city in the world. And according to CNN, also, the level of light pollution in Tsim Sha Tsui is 1,200 times brighter than a normal dark sky, which is the worst reading in the world. So is the government doing the best to solve the problems? No. No laws, unlike Australia, UK, Canada, and even Shanghai. Neon signs from buildings in Hong Kong are 500 lux, which is far higher than the International Astronomical Union standard. The number of public complaints has increased from 87 to 377 in 2009. So, think again. Is the Hong Kong government really trying to solve the problem? There are no laws to regulate excessive lighting. Let's look at the waste pollution. Every day, 13,500 thousands of waste is dumped into Hong Kong 3 landfills. And these landfills will reach capacity in 2018. And every day, citizens who are living near the landfill area will have to suffer the stink of rubbish and to sleep with waste. This will lead to damage to the ecosystem and to destroy public health. Where are the plans for future disposal? And there's another problem, noise. A Singapore case study on Hong Kong noise pollution published on freeweb.com in 2011 found that more than 1 million people in Hong Kong are affected by traffic noise, and making it the biggest problem that the Hong Kong government should immediately address. And according to the Environmental Protection Department in 2012, in the Yau Ching Mong district, nearly 1/3 of residents are affected by high levels of noise. Poor plannings in the past and continued planned development have resulted in problems such as highways running like people outside running rooms like that. And more construction and more traffic has also contributed to the noise pollution, and there is just too little policy. Ladies and gentlemen, plans and promises are hollow from the Hong Kong government. It's clear that they're not doing enough to solve the problems. The motion states do it, not planning. Not words, but action. Therefore, today's motion must stand. Thank you.
The speaker has used 4 minutes and 14 seconds.
Good afternoon, educators, ladies and gentlemen. So today our opponents simplify the motion into whether the government can solve the problem. But our opponents, does that really mean doing enough? Try to think about it. If I'm a teacher and I'm a student that's there, I have a problem. He fails every time in listening test. No matter how hard I try, he will naturally fail the test, right? Because he cannot hear anything. But have I done my best effort? Our opponents, is it really fair to judge from the result whether someone has done their best? Our opponents also gave us fancy slogans like government failing to implement sufficient measures. They simply see that the government, they oversimplify things and they think that the government can implement policies whenever they want, whatever they want. But our opponents, is it really the case? We see that there are three main problems that government face when they try to implement the policies. One, lack of support. Our opponents say that the light pollution is 1,000 times, thousands of times brighter than the night sky. But have our opponents, and they don't have laws like Australia. But our opponents do not see that the government has already tried to consult the public in 2010. But why isn't there a law? Because there was no support. But even so, there was still a subcommittee in LegCo that is solely responsible for dealing with light pollution, in noise pollution and air pollution. Our opponents, is this what our opponents, they cannot pass the law because they will not support it. But our government is still trying to do something. Is it what you call not doing enough? Second, time. Our opponents really think that the policies can be implemented whenever they want. But is it the case? Let's take the the landfill problem, for example. Our opponents say that there are tons of waste dumped in the landfill. In fact, the government is already planned, has already done a lot of plans. They already tried to build the incinerator. They are already talking about the waste charging scheme. The waste charging scheme, and they already plan to implement it by 2016. But our opponents, there still needs to be discussion in LegCo on how exactly things should be implemented. Our opponents, is it reasonable to say that the government has not done anything, even though they are already trying to implement the policy? Three, historical problem. Some problems are not exactly as easy as it seems to solve. Take air pollution, for example. Yes, the roadside pollution in Central has reached 210, but try to think about it. Why is the air pollution in Hong Kong, especially areas like Causeway Bay Central, so serious? Because the buildings are too tall, the buildings are too dense, and the ventilation is very poor. But our opponents, do you realize that there's no one complaining about the air quality in new towns such as Sha Tin, such as Yuen Long? Because the town planning board has already limited the density of the building and already limited the height of the building. But can you just go suddenly take down all the buildings in Causeway Bay and Central just to solve the air pollution problem? No, but our government is already trying to ensure that the future towns does not suffer from the same problem. Can you say that our government is not doing enough? Unless our opponents can give us one feasible policy that the government has not implemented, or else today's motion must not stand. Thank you.